Now, joining me is former Deputy Prime Minister and Nationals MP Barnaby Joyce. Barnaby Joyce, good to see you again. Look, Barnaby, scrapping net zero, that's going to be only half the fight, isn't it? I mean, I reckon the Liberals are going to be absolutely destroyed if they don't have a leader who can defend it like she really means it and really is on top of the facts. Is Susan Lee that leader?
You can't defend net zero. If you're going to the election again with net zero, remember we went to the last two elections, one was bad, the next one was catastrophic. I genuinely believe if you take net zero to the next election, that'll be the end of the coalition. It'll disintegrate and another party will evolve.
Yeah, but the thing is, you already see the ABC gearing up for a crusade to defend net zero. But a lot of journalists, this is like a holy goal that you can't dare question it. They're already going for the Liberals, and if you're sort of, anyway hesitant, and you're shamefaced about scrapping net zero, they'll cook you.
Well, it's a cult, and it's also one of the totems of socialism. Socialists love net zero because it's the triumph of the state over the individual. Now, the state will determine what type of power you have, and therefore, by default, it's going to determine what industries there are. It's the primacy and the belief of that white-collar administrative work within a bureaucracy is the apex of creation and is the purpose of humanity. That there'll be no such thing as the individualism as expressed through a blue-collar business that builds itself up, or there'll be no sort of respect for heavy industry, and private property rights, especially those of farmers, will be diminished by caveat after caveat after caveat. So when the fundamental principles of conservatism is lost and socialism becomes preeminent, that's why they love it so much, because it is the holy grail of socialism is the climate cult, because, and even the nomenclature of it, Andrew, you're a believer or you're a denier, and it's their farms and their renewables, and it's all the tripe they use, all the tripe you use in any of these sort of Stalinist, Maoist rubbish that is now permeated into the Australian Parliament with a very nice suit and a nice Chris Bowen smile on it.
Well, it's also got a sort of Christian pattern on it, Barnaby. I believe in climate change. Yeah. I mean, you've got to say that. Yeah, what does that mean? But Barnaby, I noticed that you don't. I noticed you need. No,
you don't have to prove. You don't have to prove it.
I just want to make sure it's not an accident that I asked you whether Susan Lee would be able to argue against an ABC that's on a crusade. You didn't answer. I suspect you didn't want to answer. But let me just make sure of it.
I don't want to get stuck. I don't want to get stuck into Susan. I believe that Susan is basically a voice for those around her, and I would suggest that this issue goes beyond Susan. It needs the emphatic demand of those who believe that they're on the conservative side of politics to clearly say, I am a conservative, or you're not. If you're not, that's fine. And maybe there should be like another party set up that people could rest happily in there. And if you're not happy, and if that sort of type of centre left, centre right, not quite sure where the centre is type party exists, and there's another one that's sort of conservative, well, maybe you should set that up, because it is, you just can't go to an election saying they're jumping off the cliff this way, but we're jumping off the cliff that way, and the path we walk down to the edge of the cliff is just got some of the most beautiful roses on it.
They're going to jump off the cliff too, but they plan to fall only halfway. Well, good luck to that. Is Dennis Shanahan right, Barnaby, that the Liberals are the worst performers in Parliament in 40 years? And did Susan Lee prove it all over again today?
Well, I would just, I think it looks better and twisted if you get someone who says that I believe that we certainly could sharpen up our act, but the way they sharpen up your act is you have to get binary, you have to find a clear delineation on policy. Once more, I go back to it, you've got to say they believe in COP, they believe in Paris, we believe in pensioners. They believe in higher power prices from intermittent power. We believe in cheaper power prices and looking after industry in Australia. They believe that there's a miracle world which Australia without a manufacturing sector can somehow defend itself. We are realists and we are going to prepare our nation for dire circumstances and pray that they never happen to us. We believe, or they don't believe in the private ownership of property, and they will piece by piece dissemble private ownership and piece by piece, caveat by caveat, intrude onto farmers' lands without consequence because the farmer is defenceless. We believe that one of the fundamental things that must happen in a Western society, in a free society, is the right of private ownership, and we will stand behind it and we will reinstall that private ownership. When you start having debates like that, people start listening and you start winning. And it's a nice experience. But if you're going to say, well, we kind of believe what they believe in.
Great advice. Martin Luther King would have loved to have said what you just said, but you know, I really would have thought that the answer to my question, you know, are the Liberals the worst performers in Parliament in 40 years, would have been no, but you couldn't say it, so I presume there's some truth to that attack. One nation leader,
I think we can do a lot better. I think we can do much better. There you go.
Absolutely correct.
But get your first grade
One nation
to the coalition. Get your first grade team on the paddock. For goodness' sake, get your first grade team on your front bench.
Well, who are they?
Whether you like them or not. Well, they're the ones that. I've got them in mind, but I'm not going to say. But I'll tell you how you'll know them is when they take their opponent on, they win. Whether it's on Sky at night, Sky during the day, 7:30 report, in the Parliament, wherever it is, the shadow of the minister holds the minister to account and puts them on the mat. And when you see that person doing it, you say, I've got a first-grade player. If they can't do it, they're not. They're there as a mate, not as a minister, not as a shadow minister.
Well, I can think of at least 4 people that you might be referring to. Andrew Hastie, Jacinta Nampijinpa-Price, Jane Hume.
Matt Canavan.
That is so obvious. I wasn't going to say it.
Bizarre.
So true, so true. Pauline Hanson gave her first overseas speech today in Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago. What signal does that send?
It says that she's now being taken seriously on a global footing. So, you know, and I don't think she's playing footsies with the socialists, and that's why she has the benefit of a clear message, an unambiguous message, and it resonates. You know, we've had other people, and I won't mention their names, who've gone to CPAC-like conferences, and all that's happened is they've left the audience in sort of stunned silence, not by their acumen, but by their idiocy of a message that is not a conservative message. It's just a vacuous rattle of rubbish.
Barnaby Joyce, thank you so much for your time.